Okay, we are starting RealPeopleFunny.com. This week, a very special show. That's right. Very special show in honor of scriptwriters and everybody working on scripts on our show. And a special guest with us right now, besides our regular crew, is Stephen Williams, who's working with Julio and I on a script. I think it's called A New Plan right now in the working title. I'd like to change that title. I'm going to suggest on the show right now, actually, that we change the name to Crunch Time, which I think is kind of a funny name. Stephen, what do you think of that?
Hey, yeah, I think that's great. Because it ensues, it means pressure. So
yeah, it's pressure, and it's also like the end of the game, but also the beginning of a game. Crunch time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
It has a sports overtone. So anyway, working title can be A New Plan or Crunch Time. Crunch Time, maybe that's the better.
Crunch Time is better, actually. Crunch Time is much better, because he's forced to decide if he's going to rehab or, if he's going to retire and do something else. So, and either side is not stable. So I like it.
Yeah, why don't you tell the audience right now, while I'm involved here with some picture taking at the South Street Seaport, which is where I'm at. Why don't you tell the audience what Crunch Time is all about? Because you're the main guy writing it with us. Me, you, and Julio are working on it. So what's it all about?
Hey guys, my name is Steve. I met Alan last year. I'm a writer. I do a lot of comedy writing, a lot of playwriting. I'm always pitching things in contests, and I currently have something that's on Tubi about a Black doctor that I co-wrote. So I'm always comedy writing. This show is about an African-American football player. He's in his late 30s. He's made over $300 million in his career. And he finds out through some information that the team is going to get rid of him next year. So he panics and he starts thinking about, oh my God, do I have enough money for retirement? And he meets his accountant, and his accountant says, you only have enough money for 2 years. She says, you need to play for a few more years until you get into your 40s. And then the next game he plays, he tears his ACL, and he panics. He panics, and he basically is in a situation where he needs to start cutting down his expenses in his life. But his biggest obstacle is telling his wife this question. His biggest obstacle is approaching his wife about this. His wife spends his money. She doesn't work. She just spends. And he's afraid to tell her. He tries to give her hints and so forth and so on, but it's a struggle. So the whole piece is about him trying to adjust to this new downsized lifestyle with this money-hungry wife. That's the basis of it. Yeah. And then he also suffers.
So really, is it?
He also suffers from hallucinations.
Suffers what?
He also suffers from hallucinations, from concussions that he's received while playing football. So sometimes he sees people from his past. He sees people in the present, and all these interactions with these hallucinations impact the decisions that he makes in his new life. So that's pretty much what the show is all about. The show's really about how do you adjust to a new normal once you're hit with something bad, like the coronavirus. Like, what do we do now? Okay, we're all going to wear masks now. We're all going to social distance. So it's all about, what do you do when you're hit with something and you have to change your lifestyle, or you have to change your way of life? That's what the whole thing is all about. And he's gonna go on this journey where he's gonna discover who he is and what life is really about, and is this relationship with his wife really a healthy one? He's gonna question a lot of things about his life. And he also has a daughter who is biracial, and she has a big impact on his life as well. So that's basically pretty much what the show is all about. So
right now, he also has this as written, and if everyone's read it on the show, I sent it out. as far as what you had sent me, Steve, so far, because we're in the process of writing it. He has a stripper who is sort of like his friend, but they're like friendly enemies. They talk to each other in sarcasm and whatnot. But I wanted to change that part a little bit and actually make her like a mistress. I wanted him to have her as the into that world where he wastes a lot of money. I mean, I'm throwing it out there as opposed to like having her as just somebody who like comments on how, how sarcastically how bad he's doing or what he's doing wrong or something. I think we can actually shift that character over to his wife. I think his wife is the one who's driving it in terms of like, you can do better than what you're doing. Like she can compare him to some of the other superstars in his field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
like, who do you think you are? Cam Newton? You're not Cam Newton, Yeah, no, but I'm just thinking. I mean, that's the whole point of this show right now is have suggestions.
Yeah, I'm open. It's the first
because
draft,
I think that.
Well, I
think that's more interesting.
I read the script that you had sent us, Richard, and it was just the first part up to the end of her birthday party when she started smashing the Mercedes. Is that all that's you have so far?
Yeah, that's just the first episode. I end it like that. That's just the first episode. So I kind of left it like I wanted the end to be like a mess. I wanted to end where she smashes the Mercedes that he got for her birthday, and then I want the audience. I did that because I want the audience to like kind of like think, okay, what's gonna happen next? As opposed to resolving it, because the way I write is I don't like to resolve things at the end of the show. I like to have a series arc, like The Sopranos. Like when you watch The Sopranos, it was just an arc for the entire. I don't like to do things like 30 Rock where things are solved at the end. That's kind of corny. I want to write it as a movie, and just have people like, well, damn, what happened? Say like, wow, what happened at that? Like, I can't believe it ended like that. They're like, let me keep watching it. Let me just keep on watching it. So yeah.
It's more like Netflix or Amazon Prime. The one thing about the guy who's the football player, just from a point of realism in my head, you don't find too many 36-year-old defensive linemen or offensive linemen in the NFL. That's like an age way beyond what most of them could possibly play. If they get into their early 30s, they're lucky. And so
you're right. You're so right. I kind of make it as an exception. He's an exception, but you're right. Normally, defensive linemen are out of the game at like 32, 33. And then you have a few guys like Bruce Smith who kind of like get to 37, but you're right. It's very, very rare. It's very rare.
And if a guy that was that old, in that position had an ACL, man, there's no way he's coming back and anybody's going to sign that guy, to a contract, because, to come back from that kind of an injury at that age, you're toast. I mean, not that you can't do it that way, but I mean,
no, you're right.
If I were doing it,
Lenny, you're right on the point with what we're trying to do with the show today. That we want you exactly. I thought something like that, but it was a passing thought. Lenny has more expounded on it and hit it right on the head. Yeah. I think at 36, and for any sport, there are exceptions like Tom Brady and so forth.
But they're quarterbacks.
Exactly.
The linemen don't last that long because they get the shit beat out of them every week.
No, you're right.
And Lenny's a former football player, so he knows what he's talking about. But I agree. I think that we don't need the maturity to that extent.
Richard's got Julio disease right now with his sound.
Hold on a second, because I'm walking and talking at the same time. But anyway, although I'm not quite sure now what you meant by that, but I have Julio just.
Well, when he got to go,
what's going on here today?
Stretches out, like that.
Oh,
like this.
Yeah. You know what happened? I was walking through a building here at the South Street Seaport, I'm live from the South Street Seaport. It's a remote report I'm
Hey
getting.
man, you got to get an extension for your phone then, so you can hold it away like the professionals do when they're doing their shit with their phone.
You know what?
I mean?
We have that, but I don't want to do that. Wrong is using it right now for the baby.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What? Sit down here a little bit. Yeah, we can sit down, but now we're going to sit down, relax for a few minutes, and I at least I'll be stationary. So anyway, yeah, Lenny, we appreciate that. Steve, I agree with Leonard that I think he's a little too old as set in the script, but that's easy to resolve as well. You know what I mean?
No problem. I mean, I could change it.
I like
I could change it.
Well, and by the way, the crisis, let's say he was 32. When you think of somebody 32 years old who's facing a crisis of that magnitude, where they all of a sudden have gone from a lifestyle like where they could buy a freaking lion in their backyard for no reason to all of a sudden at 32, I mean, that's crazy. That's a crazy thing to have to deal with at that age.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's more realistic. 32 is I think it's more of a crisis because you're young. You're still relatively young.
Oh yeah.
At 32. So, so to be at 32 years old where, you now have to figure out, okay, I've never done anything in my life except play football. What am I going to do? Holy shit. I'm not good at, I don't know if I have what it takes to be an announcer. I get nervous in front of cameras. What do I do? So yeah, I like that. I like that. 32 is a good age.
And how am I going to get rid of this bitch wife that I have who's only in it for the money?
Yes.
And he's broke. He desperately has to do something. He has to go to the movies. Maybe he'll be desperate enough to go to play again. I don't know.
Yeah, he is. One of the things is that he is going to decide to rehab again.
That may not be a problem if you lose your money.
Yeah. But I like the feedback, guys. I'm open to feedback.
Well, also, Steve, you're gonna if we lower the age. Well, not only open to feedback, but Julio and I are writing it with you, so we discuss now, but we gotta have a meeting and we talk about further how we're going to structure it, because it's an episodic is what you're talking about, and then with episodics, you may author or we may author the first pilot episode and other episodes, but we open it to other writers as well. That it's just like Star Trek or The Sopranos or whatever. They're not all written by the same person. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. I feel like the show will need. I honestly the show will need a team of writers. I feel like it will need Asian writers. I think Asians need. This will be a great. Because we don't see too many things with Asian Americans at all on television, unless it's kind of stereotypical. ABC tried, with a show, but I think this would be a great big vehicle for Asian writers, female writers. Yeah.
Go ahead, Marlene.
I believe in having a writer's room. I definitely think it's the best way to do a show.
Well, now, absolutely. And a guy like Lenny, for instance, if he's interested, would be perfect because he has a vast experience as a teacher, educator, but also he was an athlete. He did play football. Which brings you heard him just now. Bring us some of that reality that we're talking about. Personally, I feel like Lenny said that I don't care what age he's at. What's interesting is he has a catastrophic injury, and it's not that he can come back. It's that he can't come back. But he still has to go through rehab and all that.
Well, he has to listen. If that guy had that injury at 24 and he was that good, then he'd come back and he'd get a contract and he'd play. But when you get into your 30s, and especially in those positions, now I'll give you an example. I don't want to. Alex Smith, who's a quarterback right now for Washington, he destroyed his leg 2 years ago and had all kinds of problems. And now he's back on the field because he's a quarterback and he can, get away with that stuff. But when you're a lineman, that's different. They just don't last that long. But there was a couple of other things. I don't know if you want me to,
we want you to. We want you to. That's all. Because I'm going to take a vote on some stuff.
I got something on page 12 that I like to talk about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let Lenny go, and then Joel. Go ahead, Lenny.
Well, I think one thing you want to be a little bit careful of is don't get too stereotypical. Like, you know, here was a football player. He's a big galoot. You know, he's not gonna stop playing. He has no money because he spent it all. You know, he has, so, you know, that's one thing. And then, you know, in my head, you know, an Asian wife who's all in it for the money, and that's her only reason for being there. You know, that's kind of I've seen that kind of a thing before. And then, you know, the poor stripper who's, you know, she's really not a stripper. She's, you know, going to be this or going to be that. I mean, you know, I don't know how much leeway you have in things like that, because I've never written anything like that. But to me, I would want to make it stand out. I'd want to somehow not break that stereotype somehow along the way, so that it's not, oh, okay, we know this character, we know that character. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
Lenny, you're so right. And the thing about it is that I agree with you. And because it was the first episode, I wanted to show, well, when we get writers, I wanted to show the backstory of why his wife is like this. And I wanted to get into her backstory a little bit more. But you are right. One of the goals of the show is I wanted to make these characters seem multi-dimensional, but you are right. That's one of the goals, is to
that
is
show
to
that
break
you
away
talk
from the stereotype.
on
You're right.
ABC, Fresh Off the Boat. The woman that plays the wife is, you know, she plays that character kind of, you know, like that, where she's, you know, all about the money and all about this. And
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I would comment that as part of what our job is, especially if you're representing characters that haven't been seen before, is that aspect of what's the realism. And then also, as Lenny would say, if you're just going to block characterize somebody in a stereotype, it won't be that interesting.
Okay.
But we're gonna be a special.
Yeah, you know, let's break it up here.
He's got Julio disease again.
Yeah. What happened?
Well,
Pay
he's
special attention to that, because
we're not getting anything you're saying, Richard.
since even in my basic script writing class,
Can't hear
I'm
you.
taking right now as a refreshing course. As we talk about how to me, let's go to Joe. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, just a minor point, because, you know, I like to look at the kind of the funny part of it, or, you know, maybe a little small thing. Like on page 12, it says he came at the quarterback like a raging bull. And I would have said, but trying to connect it to his enjoyment of owning lions. I would have said he came at him like a lion, in brackets, because he likes lions.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
a good idea. Hey, by the way, I want to play Elliot in the beginning scene, because I want to be with strippers in bed. That sounds like a fun thing. Could I have that part?
Well,
Lenny, if you can hear me, you'll be one of the extras that get to be making out with a stripper when the scene starts. Okay.
Lenny and I are gonna have to practice, I guess, because I figured I'd have to be a stripper. I didn't see anything else in the
I don't know.
By the way,
it seems like every script doesn't have a part for you, because so far you criticized every script and said it doesn't have a part for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Before we go any further, hey, Angel. I watched your YouTube thing. You were way better than the guy you were paired with. Way better.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. I think he's the best one that we have, though. Right?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but thank you. I thought the part with the emotions was really the best one.
Yeah. It was good. Anyway, I just had to get that in. Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad that you watched it. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but maybe did you? How did you send it?
Like email, I think.
No, the link, you have to go into YouTube, and you got to go into LA Comedy, and you got to search for it, because it's not readily, it's not in the link. So
I can send it. I sent it to someone yesterday.
yes, you can email the exact link if you have it.
I do. I know who cares about me, Rat.
Will you send it to me? You know what we got to do, guys, because we're all writers. And one of the ideas that I have is that we're going to use our Zoom shows also to have like in Steve's words, a writer's room, but it won't be just for one show. It would be for ideas for a number of shows. I almost want to create like a writing studio, so to speak, so that we're constantly pitching and selling. We sell our first script, then we sell the second because of the contact we made and so forth. So we got to write something for Angel.
Please. All this talent going to waste.
Or Angel, you can come up with an idea for yourself, and we'll critique it. And
Well,
everybody
hey,
pitch in
Angel,
and
you
write.
could be like the madam.
Gore. Okay.
You know, like you don't have, so you're in charge of the, the whole deal.
Yeah, I could definitely write something.
His brother runs like the Joe and Chip Joanna Gaines network. And he had asked me, he was like, okay, let's just talk this through. Not the guy, but the brother. That's my friend. And he was like, do you want your own show? I was like, I want any show. I don't care what I do. So yeah, I guess I can even be a madam.
Well, no, I mean, you could have, I mean, it could be something well, it could be a period piece too. That would be cool because, back in the day, that really was, brothels were really much more respected and much more, looked upon as a release for guys. And I think it actually saved a lot of marriages because it caused less adultery in the sense of cheating, like with somebody else, because you would just go there, pay your money, and be done, and everybody was happy. You know what I mean? And those madams back in the day were like looked upon, and they knew very powerful people, so they were protected.
Right.
It'd be an interesting period piece, I think. But
I could do it like a boss, Lenny.
So that could be something that we need a lead writer on that to work on the idea, because we would need to obviously to know what the character's about, what's the setup, but I could see it as an episodic also.
Yeah,
an HBO type episodic or something like that.
Yeah,
definitely. I think that's a very good. I think it's very, very funny, and I think it's great, and I love it. It's very original. I'd love
you could also, because you could bring in famous historical characters, like Teddy Roosevelt goes to a whorehouse, and people don't realize that he probably did back in the day. I mean, because they all did. I mean, Diamond Jim Brady, the whole works. I mean, that everybody did that back then. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting show. Could be a little bit sensual, if you will. So we have that element to it. It's not just like a straight out like comedic show or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could go. Yeah, you could show as much flesh as you decided you wanted the rating to be. I mean,
exactly.
Go all in, just all in.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the main show that we were talking about today, Crunch Time. Basically, I did want to bring up, and let's get reactions to this, Steve. My idea was, if you remember, there was a show on HBO many years ago called Dream On. Mm-hmm. And one of the aspects of the show that I really liked was when he would have these fantasy sequences with people who would talk to him. And my idea for this one, because the gentleman is African-American or Black, is that when he has these hallucinations about his life, getting advice and so forth or whatever, it would be historical figures. So there might be a time where Martin Luther King is giving him advice about women, which is hilarious, or Malcolm X is giving him advice about how to deal with white guys when he's negotiating for the broadcast contract or something. Steve, how do you react to that? And then we'll get comments from everybody else.
Yeah, I actually do want to do that. And I think it's very, very funny, especially if he's in bed with like multiple women. Dr. King will say, "Hey, I did this, don't do it." I mean, that's kind of messed up. I mean, but
it is messed up, but it's funny. It is
funny, but you got to be, you would have to
be careful.
You got to be considering the blowback you're going to get for doing so. I mean, to put somebody like that in that position. It is funny, but you would. I think.
No, you're right. You're right. I agree with you.
A lot of people.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
We're writers. I mean, we can.
I agree with you.
The universe is ours. We not.
Look, I don't know. I'm sorry.
No. You're right. You're right. It's very controversial. I mean, I like to push the envelope, but but. At the same time, I'm not a gatekeeper, so I don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to use George
Yeah,
Washington Carver to show him how peanut oil would be good as a lube, that might be funny for him.
Or how
You
about Al
might not get a
Sharpton?
lot of
Al
blowback
Sharpton.
for that. But Martin
that
Luther
also.
King and him and strippers, I just don't see that as being
I know.
something.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
No, but it's a hallucination, and maybe I mean maybe we also can give the weight to those kind of characters that they deserve, if you will. Like they're giving advice. You know what I mean? They don't have to give advice on something lascivious. They can give advice, you know, in general. But anyway, as writers, we can work that in. But do you think it's a good idea? That's what I want to know. Steve, you agree? Leonard, do you think that's a good idea? I think that's.
Well, I can see if you like, for example, in terms of Martin Luther King, if he's giving him advice on his future that's you know something that's you know saying you have to do this and you have to do it the right way. I could see that as being okay because people would respect that. But if you're not going to put him in the room with strippers and him in bed, that's just not going to work.
No, but we might bring Muhammad Ali, however, who had 12 wives or whatever he had at one point for something like that, because I don't think people would get mad about that. You know what I mean? This is why we're writers. We talk about this. Of course, reaction. We want to have a big audience. We don't want to turn an audience off, like a major part of the audience, but we also want to have comedy when we do it, and we want to make it like there won't be any.
I think you can do it. You just have to be careful which characters you pick to do what things. That's all. You know, you got to be a little careful.
Right, you think it's you think it's workable. You think it's a good idea too.
Yeah,
I think it's good for the drama, for the fun.
I think it's good. I think it's good. And what I did is to justify these hallucinations is that he has concussions, and the first hallucination he sees is his mother. His mother died, him and his mother had a bad relationship. So his mother, the ghost of his mother, is just representing all the fears he has about his future. So the first ghost we see is his mother, and then eventually, you know, we're gonna start introducing like more ghosts. Like it could be Dr. King, it could be Martin Luther King, it could be Muhammad Ali, and they come in different. Like when he's rehabbing, he kind of gives up, and he can see Muhammad Ali say, "Don't give up. This is like your Sonny Liston," and all these kind of things. So yeah, it can work.
Why does he have a bad relationship with his mother? Just out of curiosity.
His mother, his mother just resented him. Growing up, she felt like when he came along, it just killed her dreams. And she always calls him ugly and everything, and his mother died before he got drafted, and she gave him a lot of negative talk growing up, and he still kind of lives with it in his head. And his mother reappears, and she represents all that negative manifestations in his life. So it's kind of it's a little psychological, a little deep, but yeah. But eventually,
I like that. I like that you've introduced that element, because it reminds me of something that I said about my ex-wife, the second one. I said in my comedy act, I said, well, you know when you want to go do something and it's like major, and you have that voice in your head that's when you say, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then there's that voice that goes, no, you won't, and now I can do this. And that voice goes, no, you can't. I said, you don't need that anymore when you marry your second time, because the ex-wife will tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Steve, I think it's interesting because that's sort of an anti-stereotype from a lot of the guys who are in the NFL. You know, they talk about how, their mother, how they raised them, and then, they buy them a house to buy them. So that's interesting because it's different than what you often would hear. You know what I mean? So that's
what, Lenny is dead on it. He's bringing us something that we wouldn't find with probably 90% of people. We put them in the writer's room, because most people would go for the stereotype. I noticed that even about this class I'm taking. He says things to me about my writing that I go, wait a minute, that's stereotypical. He's like, well, why don't, if you know the movie Hollywood Shuffle, and I had when one of my characters in what I was writing was Asian lead character, and he goes, well, why don't you make it like a Hollywood Shuffle? Well, that's stereotypical. That's like just regular. That's that doesn't take any genius to figure that out. But when you introduce an aspect that is non-stereotypical, or at least you color it a bit, I find that very interesting. So Lenny, I commend you. You're just right off the top of your head, you're coming up with stuff that really we're looking for, and that's perfect for the way it should be now in 2020.
Oh no, I think Lenny's given some great feedback, and it's always good to rewrite and to go back to your stuff and realize how can I make it better. And rewriting is just something that's so necessary. But no, you guys have given really great ideas.
Now, if you make him a Trump supporter, that would really be cool too.
You know what? That's actually pretty good too. That's actually pretty good too.
Here comes Emma.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just see that little light around my block. There it is. I was thinking, you know, we could even you could even write in a scene where the mother, the ghost, is flashing back on her history, where she's sitting at the abortion clinic and she changes her mind about having the abortion.
Oh my God, that is so dope.
Maybe she missed the bus or something. That would be fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Got there, too late.
Oh my God, you know what? That I love you. That is so dark and funny, and you've never seen anything like that. Oh my God, I love you. That is so dark. I love that. I love that.
Well, you know what the mother probably had, Steve. The mother probably had like a complex about the father.
Huh?
No,
yes, exactly.
The mother had a complex about the father, because I read something in a self-help book where this mother became an alcoholic because the father left, and she always, whenever she said to her son, "You look just like your father, and you always remind me of your father." But when she said it, it wasn't in a good way. She took another swig. You know what I'm saying? So
is he gonna have any siblings?
Well, no, but you know what? I do want to say something about the character. I didn't really reveal this in the script, and I think this is not something that a lot of people who aren't African American aren't aware of. In Black culture, there's really this complex about complexion, and he's very dark, and his mother is very light. And his mother resents him for his dark complexion. And he's so traumatized about it that he only messes with white and Asian women. And that's part of his issue. He doesn't respect Black women. And it's kind of heavy, but that's kind of a psychological thing he's going through.
It doesn't have to be, Steve, because I know it sounds heavy. But the reality is, I think for any minority male in this society, you're constantly aware, if you're making a dating or relationship decision, of what race, if you will, or what color you're dating. I think that it doesn't have to be super heavy. You know what I mean? It could just be a throwaway, even like, well, I just like white women, you know, or I just like light-skinned women or something. It's not that big of a thing, but it's something certainly that I love that you added it, because it brings that realism.
Yeah. So, but I do,
you know what I mean? You don't have to think about it as being so heavy, like somebody's being a traitor to their race or something. Quite the opposite, actually. If you look at Black athletes, I think they favor white women, actually, a great amount of them. I don't want to say everybody, but a great amount of them. What do you think, Steve?
Or Asian from the other story.
Or Asian, which is part of our story. But what does everybody think about that?
To me, it was never about what color or if you're Asian. It was just about, you know, how big their boobs were, or their ass, or their face, you know, like eyes. It's like, that's really what matters.
Which could be a funny conversation in the show. Yeah.
Right.
But I do love the abortion thing. The abortion thing is very deep, and that's something that could be a story that his mother used to tell him a lot when he was growing up, and I can see how that can traumatize a child or a person till adulthood.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I thought Joel had a Joel. What did you say, Joel?
Wake up, Joel.
He's frozen.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll leave him where he is.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't read that particular story.
Yeah, he's going in and out.
Reminds me of Buddy that was on the show one time.
Driving around.
Yeah, he's driving.
Hello?
Listen, Julio's not on the show right now, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't know what happened to him. He called me, and I told him, you know, that Ben would send him the link. So.
And he had to sling salami today.
All right. Before we get to trivia, I wanted, and thank you everybody and Steve for talking about crunch time. We're going to come back to that, and maybe we'll all percolate, because I'm magnanimous, and I'm also very, very generous. And if our show people are interested in joining the writers' room on crunch time, that'd be great. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I'm open to ideas and getting notes, and then just revamping and going through another rewrite or a couple of more rewrites, and yeah, just making it better.
We all put it together. We all pass it around and see what we think of, because what we're writing really is the pilot episode to get started, since it's an episodic.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that where it is for now. Thank you all for participating, and we're going to come back to that obviously over and over, probably next week. But in the meantime, I have my 3 log lines that I sent out because I'm in a script writing class, and quite honestly, for the script that I'm writing, I'm going to be very generic, if you will, because it is a basic script writing class, and I don't want to, I would never bring crunch time into that class. It's just too advanced. So my 3 log lines are, and I'm walking down the street, so I'll do it from memory. One of them is about a young nerd. He's a high school nerd, maybe a junior in high school. And he's an A student, but his family doesn't dote on him. They dote on a second brother who is like very athletic and handsome and all that. He's like a nerd. And he decides, and that's the key element, that to change his life, because he can't get women and all this other stuff, he figures out, and he may not be able to, even though he's great and he's hoping to get scholarships, but he may not be able to afford to go the way he wants to go. He realizes that West Point is free if you get in. So he decides, hey, I'm going to go to West Point, which is like totally foreign to his world. You know, West Point is about being in the military. It's about being physical. It's about a lot of things that he's not. So that's one story. And that's called To the Quick Step, taken from the movie Glory, where they were charging on the fort, and ultimately it didn't work out. And then he says, charge. And then he says, the captain, and then he goes, to the quick step. And he raises his sword, and they start running towards the fort. In any event, that's the title. That's the first one. The second one is a horror picture about a guy who is like having a supposedly good life, middle class, but very boring. And he has a lot of what he considers to be enemies. This is a horror picture. So make a long story short, he's like wishing he could change his life and get rid of some of these people or have things happen to them. And his father comes back from the grave. His father was a bastard. And his father's ghost comes back from the grave and starts eliminating people. And then, of course, he becomes a suspect in that. And he has to deal with his father's ghost and so forth. So that's a horror comedy, so to speak. A lot of comedies, horror pictures are sort of comedy imbued. So that's the second one. So remember the types. The first one is coming of age story. The second is a horror picture. The third one is more like a human character study of a former cop who decides to become a stand-up comedian after he's retired, shortly after he's retired. And it really kind of shows the life of that you get involved with becoming a stand-up comedian before all this COVID thing where you can't really have a show and a live show and all that. This was back in the day when there were open mics and all that. So those are the 3: coming of age, horror, or character study of a man who really wants to just change his life and goes into another field from being a retired cop and goes into stand-up comedy, which is much less regimented and there's not a clear path. Of those 3, let's get a vote from everybody. Which one should I work on? I'm partial to the quick step because I think it's very interesting. I like quirky stuff, and I want this guy to be from a small town. So one by one, tell me what you think. Steve, let's start with you. What do you think I should work on?
I like Quick Step. A Quick Step is very good. You'd have to really research, West Point and what they go through.
Well,
I like it.
Actually, it's not about him going to West Point. It's about him wanting to go. If you saw the movie Lady Bird, it's about him getting ready. for you know what I mean, and how that it affects other people in his life, how it affects him. So he may take a Taekwondo class. He may, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying he does well at it. We don't really know if he's going to get into West Point. But in any event, I appreciate that, though. You're right. As far as admission requirements and all that, I'll have to be Johnny on the spot on that.
Yeah, but I like that. I like that. It's a very coming of age story. And I think it's something that would be very network friendly, which is good. You know, the show that we're writing, Crunch Time, you know, would probably be a little bit too risque for like major TV net, but I can see that on a CBS or an NBC or something like that. Or Fox.
Right, or it would be a movie, because it would be coming.
Or a movie, yeah.
Either way, I have it written for the moment in my mind as a movie, but again, okay. Thank you, Steve. And Emma, what do you think? Is Emma there?
I like the quick step.
Quick step. Okay, that's number 2. Why, Emma?
Because there's a black man in it.
Wait a minute. There's a black man in Quick Step? No, the idea of the title I took from Glory. Crunch Time is
all about. I got that from. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Quick Step is actually about a nondescript white guy who's a geek, and he just, no one would ever say to him, "You should go to West Point." And that changes his life, and it changes the people around him when he decides to do it. And he's not that great at it. But in any event, do you think I should do that one?
No, I don't know now.
All right, we'll come back to Emma. Joel, are you there?
Oh, he's gone.
Is Joel there?
No, he's gone.
No. Okay. All right. So Lenny, what do you think?
Well, the quick step thing, there's a whole lot of pieces to that. I mean, getting into West Point requires, you have to have a congressman and all that other crap,
Exactly.
It's a tough thing. The idea of a cop who's, trying to run between shifts and go to and hit like comedy clubs in the city, you know what I mean? Like in gigs like that to me is kind of funny, because you can, 1 minute he could be, arresting somebody and then he's like got to run out and, try and do, 15 minutes and on the Comedy Store. To me that there's a whole lot of stuff you could do with that too. So I might think that one might be so
it's pretty much 1-1 at the moment. Who else is on the show, or did we hit everybody?
Angel.
For real?
Angel. Sorry, Angel, I don't have a screen today. I'm outside. So.
Okay, I should be top of mind always, right? Topa advertising, top of mind. Okay, anyway, I don't know. So I think that Quick Step could be good from just like a touching kind of story, but I agree with Lenny that I think the Funny You Should Ask could be really funny.
Wait, say that again.
I think Quick Step could be great for like a sweet, like nice story.
Yeah.
Which I like. But then I think Funny You Should Ask could be very funny. I just think they're very different. I don't like Legacy because I don't like stuff about, returning from the grave stuff, but.
That's horror. Yeah, that's a whole different type of picture.
Yeah. But I think the Quick Step and Funny You Should Ask are very different. I think one's very comedy, and I think the other one is,
You know what? I'm getting a surprise response here, because Funny You Should Ask, I think has potential. Of course, anything that I think of, I think has potential. But you guys are kind of showing me, like, even as a writer, like how to look at it from another standpoint. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are right. You and Angel and Lenny saying, Funny You Should Ask. There is a lot of possibilities there. You know what I mean? For this class, because that teacher said to me, oh, you should make a Chinese Hollywood shuffle or something. And I don't want to go that way. I don't want to mess with race on this particular story that I'm writing for.
Class. With the Funny You Should Ask, you think of all of the characters. You could have lawyers, you could have detectives. I mean, you could have judges. There's he could be in court and, he gets, for example, and he has to testify, and all of a sudden he kind of gets mixed up and he starts doing a little stand up, and the judge and the district, they get pissed off. I mean, there's a whole lot of, I just see a whole lot of opportunity in that one. I don't know.
And then also I have the experience from that, because that's exactly what I did as an attorney. I went out and started doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And I would do things like I would I would rush home, take a shower, and then go back out and do comedy. And literally, I'd be so exhausted because I'm working a regular law job, which was pressure, that on the subway, I actually fell asleep and my head was on the shoulder of a black guy next to me. And I was woken up by him. He was like, "Come on, man."
Why make the character a cop then? Make him a lawyer.
No, but I like it as a cop. But it's funny, you threw another element in, which is it's not that he retired. He actually was a cop at the same time, and I know people like that. I know police officers who have, because I did stand-up comedy for so many years.
The cop from Sakinara.
What's that?
He could be the Chinese cop from Sakinara.
Yeah, but I don't want race involved with this particular class the way I'm writing it. I just don't. I want to make it nondescript. He's going to be a white guy.
Have to be Chinese, just played by you.
Yeah. Non-traditional casting. Okay. In any event, it sounds like Steve. What do you think? But I think it's sounding like people are saying I should go with Funny You Should Ask.
You know what? I think that as far as a TV show, it would have a lot of mileage, and I think Quick Step is a movie, and I think Funny You Should Ask could be kind of the new kind of Seinfeld in a way. I think.
So Rat, also with the cop thing, so he could probably come into some situations that might be awkward if you're still a police officer, but say that you're working clubs, people are doing drugs, and you're kind of.
I agree.
Right. That also has happened. I mean, we had a booker that was heavy into cocaine, and he was booking all these guys. There were a number of people who were cops and who were doing stand-up comedy, and it's kind of funny. So yeah, I appreciate it. We're not going to tie it up. I think based on I said I'm going to have a vote. It sounds like I've got an episodic there on my hands on Funny You Should Ask. I think I'll work on that. Let's move on now. Steve, if you want to stick around, we are going into trivia. You might like the game.
Oh yeah, I actually have to go somewhere after this, but definitely I loved meeting with you guys, and I love the feedback.
Come by next week, and we'll work more on the script as well. We'll put some work in during the week, and then come back with it.
Yeah, you just hit me up. I have no place to go. I'm stuck in quarantine. Yeah.
All right. Say goodbye to Steve. Thanks for coming on.
Bye, guys.
Steve. Thanks.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Bye.
All right, Angel. Let's go into the trivia because I'm on the street, and soon I'll have to wrap up too.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So let's just start with Reverend Ken. We don't have many people today. So we'll go with Ken Barron. Zach is a member of AEA and also SAG-AFTRA. What is happening to those unions right now? They're fighting about jurisdiction over streaming shows. They are seeking stimulus funds for all of their members, or they're trying to figure out how RAT got into their unions.
Okay, what's the answer?
I'm going to say 2. Stimulus funds?
No, the answer is number 1. Did Ken answer that, or you answered it?
Well, you said answer it. Ken hadn't answered yet, so I thought I would just throw my thoughts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's number 1. Actors Equity is having a jurisdictional problem with SAG-AFTRA because.
Well, you mentioned that last week.
Yes. Some of these questions, you can win them by or get the right answer just by remembering what we did on the show. But in any event, yeah, because the equity theaters are streaming shows, and anything involving taping is normally done by SAG-AFTRA. So they're having a jurisdictional problem. SAG has offered to waive their membership of AEA, so they don't have to pay SAG-AFTRA for what they're doing with the streaming and get their money and just pay equity. But equity won't admit the jurisdiction because they can see that in the future there may be a lot of more streaming because we don't know when COVID's going to end. They've asked for a mediator, and that's the end of that issue. Let's move on. Next question.
Great. Emma.
Yeah.
Ruffalo said blank has been swimming in a culture of white supremacy for 100 years. What is blank? Beauty pageants, Wall Street, or Hollywood?
Who said this?
Mark Ruffalo.
Oh,
The actor Mark Ruffalo.
And what are the choices again?
Beauty pageants have been swimming in a culture of white supremacy. Wall Street has been swimming in a culture of white supremacy, or Hollywood has been swimming in a culture of white supremacy.
According to Mark Ruffalo.
This is for
According to Mark.
150. I don't even know who he is, but is this for 150 years?
100 years.
Or 100? Hollywood.
You are correct. Mark Ruffalo said Hollywood has been swimming in the culture of white supremacy for 100 years. Okay, that's good.
All right.
If you don't know who Mark Ruffalo is, it doesn't matter anyway. All right, moving on.
I remember correctly, but moving on. Lenny,
Yes.
what will happen to Lisa Montgomery on December the 3rd? She'll be inducted into the Roller Derby Hall of Fame. She will retire as the lead singer of the still touring 60 band Smith, or she will be executed by the Trump administration.
I don't even know who that is. I say one.
Yeah, I think one too. Rack?
No, it's not number one. What was number one's answer? Because I'm good at
Roller
tricking people.
Derby.
No. Lisa Montgomery will be the first woman executed in 67 years by the federal government.
Oh.
She was the one who went to a woman, cut her uterus open, took the baby out, killed the woman, and then claimed that that was her baby. That's the nut.
Well, good. Then
Yeah, she's going to be
yeah, good
executed
for
on
her.
December 3rd. Yeah, so look forward to that. Mark it on your calendar, guys. Next question.
Okay, Reverend, I'll not answer for you this time. I apologize. Joe Biden and Rack both went to law school. What schools did they go to? Rack, Columbia, Biden, Yale, Rack, St. John's, Biden, Syracuse, or Rack, Derby, Connecticut Law School, and Biden, Howard University Law School.
Second one, you're quiet over here today.
Oh, I am?
Yeah, a little bit. What was the second one?
The second one is St. John's for Rack and Syracuse for Biden.
Okay, and the first one?
The first one was Columbia for Rack and Yale for Biden.
I'm gonna go with the first one.
You are incorrect.
Yeah, it's two.
Neither one of us are Ivy League graduates for law school. I did go to
It's
Columbia.
number
as I
two,
was-
right? Richard,
It
it's
was number two. Yes, I went
Yeah.
to St. John's
It was
and
two.
Biden went to Syracuse. Biden is not Ivy League at all. I think he went to University of Delaware for undergrad. Okay, moving on.
Okay, next up, Emma. Rack wrote and produced a film titled Sakinara. He also wrote and filmed a second film. He wrote and filmed a second film, not yet released. What is it titled? The Flushing Massage Spa, The Beat Cafe, or The World According to Julio and Chan?
Number one.
Flushing Massage Spa,
That's incorrect.
The Beat Cafe.
It was about a 1959 Greenwich Village cafe.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
It's a, yeah, and it was about the manager of the cafe who refuses to let it become a rock club because rock and roll was taking over the beat cafes, the poetry cafes of the time. In any event, that movie was, we filmed it, but we never edited it. It's still waiting to be edited. All right, moving on.
Okay, next up, Lenny.
Yes.
Ben and Rack perform songs together in which of these places? Would that be
Hold on.
Carnegie Recital Hall, the Tropicana in Atlantic City, or Flash Dancers Topless Bar?
They perform together.
Yes, Ben and Rack. Carnegie Recital Hall, Tropicana in Atlantic City, or the Flash Dancers
I'm
Topless?
going to say the Carnegie recital halls.
That's incorrect. I did a show there, but Ben wasn't involved.
Okay.
He and I performed at the Tropicana in Atlantic City together. We sang Country Roads and I think one other song.
Oh, I know that song. That's one of the ones I have learned with my new guitar lessons. I know that one by heart.
Oh my gosh, Paula plays that on the guitar when she's over here all the time.
We could do a duet, she and I.
Okay, next up, Ben. Which job has Julio never done? Funeral home salesperson, kept man, or employment recruiter?
First one.
Funeral home sales?
Yeah, that's correct. Julio was an
Yeah.
employment recruiter, and he also was number 2 as well.
I
You know
figured.
what's funny about that though? If you change kept man to
Employment recruiter.
woman, I've done all 3 of those jobs. Saying.
Wow.
Julio and I have a little.
All right, moving on. Moving on.
Okay, next up.
Next up. Next up.
Ben. He's single, but he says that he cannot get a date for dinner. Is that Governor Andrew Cuomo, Senator Cory Booker, or Kim Jong-un?
Hey, Cuomo.
That is correct. No more, nothing else needs to be said. He can't get a date. He's the governor of New York.
He's an asshole.
Before he was assassinated, Rack saw him live speaking in the South Bronx. Who is he? Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or Robert Kennedy?
Malcolm X.
Wrong. Robert Kennedy. He was running for president at the time, and he was on 170th Street between Jerome Avenue and Grand Concourse. And I was a kid, and I saw him speaking, big rally, and he was shot that year.
Oh,
Wow.
all right.
Yeah.
Lenny, last question of the day.
Oh boy, I'm 0 for 2.
Oh, here we go. Who has Rack?
Guys, remember this is multiple guests, so think
Yeah.
about it for a second before you answer.
Huh.
All right, now you can go down.
Oh, thank you. Rack has not met in person Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, or Mayor Bill de Blasio, who has not met in person. Hillary or de Blasio?
Who's the first one?
Trump,
I know
Hillary,
Julio met Trump.
or de Blasio?
I'll say Hillary Clinton.
That's wrong. I introduced her, and on the show, I mentioned it.
Yes,
I
you
introduced
did.
her when we had the first Asian American councilman in Flushing. I
Well,
was the
maybe
MC
that
of
was the show. Maybe that was the show I was sick.
Yeah, dang, Lenny. pay attention to
Maybe.
what Rack says.
I'm not. Listen, you get them or you don't. That's all. I met Hillary. I introduced her. Trump, I worked with him on a video for Microsoft. We did a takeoff on The Apprentice, and he came in. But I had never met in person Bill de Blasio.
Wow.
All right, so I'm now getting ready to go upstairs with the baby, so I have to carry her. So I'm going to sign off here. There's no Julio, so Angel, you're in charge.
Okay, thank you. Well,
All right, have a good rest of the show, guys. See you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
well, technically it's 3:02.
Okay.
So we could go and everyone can have their 5 minutes, or we can be like, teacher's gone, we're cruising.
I don't care. I do want to ask, there was a rally apparently yesterday in San Francisco, yesterday or the day before, where it was, I guess, more right-wing. It was, it was some sort of right-wing thing. And that they were attacked by people from the opposite side. Some cops were injured and
And outnumbered even.
yeah, it was. And also in San Francisco, I saw something this week where there's a panel that's set up to look at, and this is in places in California, one of them San Francisco, that they're looking at changing the names of schools because the school names are offensive. Names like Jefferson, Washington, and Lincoln, and Feinstein. Feinstein too. Feinstein is she has a school named after her, but apparently she did something in 1986 where they had a Confederate flag and they lost it, and she replaced it. So therefore they're finding that her name would be offensive too. So I don't know, Emma, is that all? I don't know if all that's.
Yeah, that stuff is going on. I just see that in the news.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
'cause-
ridiculous. That whole, I mean, I don't know. Where everything is right now as like a country is the saddest thing.
Yep.
They're trying to erase all our history.
I know. It's like good or bad. It's what has happened. It's the history. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
you know, I mean, but again, there are people who are looking to be offended. You know,
Mhm.
like, okay, what? Oh, wait a minute. I think that could be offensive. And then they come up, you know what I mean? Because a lot of this stuff, most people wouldn't even think about. Like, who cares? You know, I mean, does it really matter? I mean, no, it doesn't. To me, what matters is what I can get done every day and how to take care of my family. And I don't give a shit about school names or anything. Well, I would if it was somebody. I mean, if they named it, you know, Adolf Hitler Prep, I think I would have a problem with that. But short of that, like, it's like tearing down the Columbus statues.
It's dumb.
You can't judge people 400 years later. It just is stupid. So anyway, that's my rant, and I'm certainly willing to. If I were a kid in school and I was doing what I'm doing, and you two were in the class with me, and I was you, I'd be pissed at me for opening my big mouth so he couldn't get out of there.
Well, I have a massage at 4, but so I have a few minutes. But yeah, we can wrap. Emma, did you have anything else for today?
I have a performance when I'm done, but I allowed for the full time here.
Yeah, that explains your good makeup and your outfit. You look amazing. All right. Well,
You guys always look good, you two. What are you talking about?
Thanks.
Emma does. Emma shows up like a rock star. Okay. Well, if we're good, we're good. Well, I think Ben already left, so we don't have any music.
Okay. Well, all right, everybody. I don't know. Listen. I'm going to the Garden State on Wednesday. I think I don't know about Wednesday night where I'll be, but and then next Sunday I'll be up there for a few weeks.
Okay. Cool.
Doing a remote.
Yes.
So
All right.
see you
very
guys
good.
next week.
Yep. Love you guys. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. RealPeopleFunny.com.
Bye.
Bye. RealPeopleFunny.com.